Well, hey there guys, Conceptual Concept 6.9 here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're at the range today. It is snowing, but it's actually kind of warm. It's in the low 30s right now. So it's sticking on the ground, but I feel like I can wear a sweatshirt, no gloves, and I'm pretty comfortable. But hopefully our lighting's good today. Actually being close to dark right now is working in our advantage because the range spotlights are lighting me up. So hopefully video's light enough for you guys. But today I wanted to talk about two products from Texas Weapon Systems that I've been kind of experimenting with, doing some training with over the last 8 to 10 months. I think somewhere in there, I'll get the exact date or timeline somewhere in here. So the two products I wanted to talk about is their Gen 3 dust cover rail and their hobnob. So you'll notice that the hobnob is not here. It was actually on my KP104, and somewhere along my 1,000 rounds on my KP104, it yeeted off into oblivion, either here at the range or out in the forestry land. Not exactly sure when. But I lost it and there was no finding it, unfortunately. So RIP hobnob did not work very well. And I did Loctite that sucker and torqued it down to spec. Still just did not stay on. Now, if you're running a hobnob, it definitely does present some advantages, because reaching around, as AK guys do, reach around, right? It does give you a larger surface area to charge the handle, which sometimes if you're in a rush, you might miss that handle if you're trying to be super duper fast, right? So having a larger charging handle definitely comes to an advantage there. So I don't want to knock that product, but if you are going to use it, be smarter than me. Check the screws periodically, because even though it had blue Loctite and it was torqued down pretty dang hard to spec, it still fell off within 1,000 rounds. So this should be an every range trip to 2 range trip thing. Maybe store a extra Allen key for that in your grip, just so you can tighten it back down if it starts coming loose in the field or at the range, etc. You just have it with your rifle all the time. So it definitely presents some benefits, but much like Blue Jean Operator, he was one of the other people running a hobnob. His fell off too, so not just me. So if you're choosing to run that charging handle, the extending charging handle, just make sure you are checking it religiously to make sure it's not going to fall off. Unlike me, I was trusting that it would hold on. It did not. So it's not a hard do not recommend. It absolutely adds benefit, but as like all charging handles, even my Zenitco's extended charging handle has come loose. Now it came loose closer to 5,000 rounds instead of under 1,000, but it still came loose. So definitely that's a normal thing with these. They're getting yanked back and forth, yeeted back and forth on the charging handle constantly, and the screws will vibrate loose. Check them. So not a knock on that, but it was not as good as I was hoping it would be. Next thing is this Texas Weapon System Gen 3 dogleg. Avid subscribers or people who've been watching me for a long time know that the Gen 2, I ran it, it did not hold zero incredibly well. So when they came out with the Gen 3, I was really hesitant. I've gotten a lot of recommendations to try it again. People have said it works really well. And I don't want to discount what they're saying there, because I think that it does work really well for what it's designed to do. However, I've had it on 2 separate rifles. I've torqued it to spec. I've adjusted this little locking tab here, this tension tab, to be tight on the receiver. And both of those rifles have had zero shift. Now it's not hugely significant, but both have had zero shift. And on my KP104, it actually shifted forward to the point where the safety wouldn't go up all the way. It would be right about here, and I'll insert a picture of my KP104 with that issue. But the safety wouldn't go up all the way. It still acted as a safety, but it did not go flush against the dust cover because the back of the safety was actually hitting the dust cover and not letting it go all the way up. So it has shifted in zero, and I just want to show you guys. So these two targets were shot at 50. This gun is zeroed at 100 yards, but you'll notice initially it was dead nut center, and this is about right because this is about a 3-inch height over bore, so the elevation hasn't changed much. It might have dropped like a quarter or a half of an inch here, but the concern is the shift to the left. I had quite a significant shift to the left. At 100 yards, this would be about 2 inches, a 2 MOA shift, which with red dots isn't complete garbage. If you're just wanting something like an assaulter carbine, a 2 MOA shift isn't too bad. Now I have removed this and reinstalled it several times, and I've shot, I want to give it about 1,200 rounds through this rifle so far, and the shift in impact has been about 2 MOA to the left. So I'm not like absolutely hating it, but there is definitely some shift. So if you're running this, you're definitely going to want to be checking your zero periodically. Just nature of the beast. All right, so hopefully we have enough contrast here to be able to display what I believe the issue is, and an issue I've definitely had with this TWS rail, which is right here. I don't know, well, you can definitely see the oval hole that is used to have sliding adjustment on this dust cover for your specific AK. Now, it is a necessary part of the system. I'm not knocking it for that. However, on both of my AKs, I've seen the dust cover shift forward and backwards. And I think that's what's resulting in the zero shift, because we all know AKs are not built all the same, unfortunately. You know, so unfortunately you're kind of stuck with that system, but it allows for movement. And I don't know if you can see here, I'll try and get the lighting right, but the screws have shifted. You can see even the screw holes are oval as well, and that's because they have shifted forward and backwards on both my AKs. So I believe that's where the zero shift is coming in. Now, I don't want to dramatize the zero shift, but it is there. And as you saw in my video, it was zeroed and suddenly it shifted about 2 MOA. So that is, while it's not crazy insignificant, it's not crazy significant either, right? So I will try and insert a photo here of my 104 where it had shifted so far forward that I couldn't lift the safety all the way, and that's just that. So do I think this is the best option out there right now? No. And personally, I would do the Barwaris over something like this if you have the money to do so, or do a side rail mount myself, or you could switch over to the TDI. The TDI chassis system is probably what I'm going to decide to run on this gun moving forward. Just, it held up very, very well. It held zero very well. And while this shift isn't hugely significant, part of the benefit of running a rail dust cover is being able to run ACOGs or stuff that optimize your distance performance. Personally, a 2 MOA shift on an ACOG, I'm a little leery of. So is this terrible? No. It's actually much better than the Gen 2 was. Now, I do want to note, if this is working great for you and you haven't had the same experiences as me, this is a sample size of 1. So if yours is working great, don't let me knock it. I do think it's an excellent dust cover mounting solution for a assaulter carbine, quote unquote, something with a red dot. I would probably put it on a 10 or 12 inch AK, no problem. Throw it on your Draco. It'll serve you pretty well. But as you can see, the shift in impact for me, it's something to be noted. So again, I'll go back to the TDI chassis system myself. I think that's an excellent chassis system. It's also kind of GWAT vibes, but it's kind of something that's limited for red dot magnifiers. So I was hoping that this would hold zero very, very well, and I'd be able to mount a magnified optic, something like an ACOG or something similar, onto the back to be able to run it for something where I can stretch out a little more efficiently than just with a red dot magnifier. Unfortunately, I just don't think that this dust cover is it. Again, I've seen it fail on 2 different rifles. Now, not fail magnificently, where suddenly you've just lost your entire zero, but fail enough to make your shift in impact pretty significant. Earlier, I was trying to shoot at 400 yards. I was believing my zero had held, and that's why I came back and checked it. So I was shooting at 400 yards, and with the snow, I couldn't see any impacts, which is something that you need to note if you're planning on shooting at range. I couldn't see any impacts with my 3 times magnification, and the snow just absorbed the projectile. So I brought it back here to just check, and then I decided to do the video because that's where we are. At 400 yards, that would be 8 inches off, and I was holding pretty dang center. And so I was missing the torso silhouette entirely, and that's just no good. But I want to end this on a good note. Unfortunately, I've been doing a few reviews that are pretty negative right now, and I'm going to try and change that, do some positive ones as well. As things don't work, I'm going to tell you they don't work. And unfortunately, I've had a few doozies lately. This Texas weapon system has been the most recent where I've been kind of disappointed. You can see even here we have this guy strayed right, but is definitely favoring left about a ½ inch. So I was surprised at that. I was expecting to get hits out at 400 consistently, but because I couldn't judge my windage, I was not able to make any hits. So I'm gonna try and have some more positive reviews moving forward. I figured this is a good time to have this discussion because I just noticed this zero shift. Again, shooting at that 400 yards, I came to confirm zero. It had obviously shifted quite a bit. So I thought it would be a good time to go ahead and talk to you guys about it, talk to you guys about what happened here, and hopefully if you own one, it's working great for you. So again, this is a sample size of 1. I've had it on 2 rifles. It has lost zero, not spectacularly, but still has lost zero on both of those rifles. So at this point, this one particular one, I don't recommend overall. Unless you're just doing a red dot carbine, you're planning for 200 yards on in, I wouldn't recommend doing this. So let me know in the comments down below if you're running one and if it's holding zero very, very well, or if it's lost zero. I'd love to have that information down below. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time, all right?